My gut says you don't know what the topic is today. Is that accurate, Charles?
I'm reading up in the top corner. Topic is why
Franchise?
franchise founders don't sell franchises.
Do you agree on that?
I think we need to explore the topic a little more here.
Let's do it. I was talking to a franchise founder recently, and he's talking, and I'm mesmerized by his vision, his ability to say no to candidates, to make sure that he's protecting. He's like, the first set of franchises are so essential to what's going to happen in our business. I'm listening to this stuff. I'm like, this guy's a pretty sharp dude. And then it dawned on me, like, it didn't matter what widget he was selling. Like, the widget ended up being irrelevant. And my statement ended up being, if Dave Thomas sold plumbing or Ray Kroc decided to go franchise beds for sale, like, ultimately, especially for emerging brands, the widget's pretty much irrelevant when you have a founder who cares passionately about two things: the business model and the culture. And I arrived at this conclusion. I'm like, wow, I mean, it's kind of interesting to arrive at a conclusion that the point of differentiation on the product, as long as the business is making money and the founder is really hustling to focus on unit level economics, then the founder is what sells franchises. Not franchise founders don't sell franchises. What the founder sells founders, and they sell them. And so now I buy into it. I think about your culture. We've talked about your business a bunch, and as an outsider, your staff could give two shits about doing franchise law, in my opinion, but they care passionately about the mission that you're on as a leader. And so I think about that, like in great businesses, it's also the leader at the top. And can you then build that next level of leadership? So anyway, clouded thought. But when I landed on there, I thought, all right, this is a good one to get Charles's opinion on, that it's the founder. And that's where founder story goes front and center on websites and everything else. So thoughts?
Yeah, well, the predicate for all of this is that you need the unit economics, right? So you have a strong founder, good unit economics. So the machine is there, the box, the retail box, the service business. Once you have that, which every good franchise should have, the key differentiator is the founder vision. We were one of our mutual clients, Nick. I was surprised they were working with an FSO, and he showed us the video they send out to franchisee candidates. And I'm like, and you were there, we were sitting there. I'm like, this is horrible. But the reason it was horrible, the person who did the video was great, but it wasn't the founder. And then his comment was, well, I was advised founders and CEOs shouldn't be involved in the sales process, which may be when you're a 100-unit system, but not for an emerging startup brand, because I want to align with the founder vision and their mission.
I'd also argue that knowing you, if you went and started an FSO tomorrow, or if you went all in and started a franchise tomorrow, unit level economics would come alongside, because you'd be so dialed into putting traction in place and finding the unit level economics. So like the founder can be an intangible. Like I can think back to FranX. We could take two brands that occupy the same segment. I can visualize one. One brand does 2 million and one does 900,000. It's ultimately serving the exact same product. And so I think about what's the difference? The intangible is the founder. A commitment to excellence and pivoting and adjusting. And when you don't have that energy, I think it's harder to win.
Well, one of my big takeaway experiences at FranX, at least comment wise, and there were a ton, was Ken Parsons giving advice to so Ken Parsons' brothers just do gutters. And he was giving some advice to more emerging brands. And he said, you need to plan right now what your franchisee exit is going to look like, the value they're going to generate from the franchise, and one day when they sell that franchise, what that sale is going to look like. And
Great
I
point.
thought that's a game changer perspective, for a founder and for a new brand.
Well, I mean, that's probably a whole episode in itself. But
Right.
I mean, think of the depth of that. The franchise owner or the franchisor Ken in that scenario saying, selling franchises is tough. Getting you in there is tough. Most franchisees talk about what does year one sales look like and what does AUVs look like, because they want to know, like, what's the bleed going to feel like, and what is the potential that I can earn. But what Ken is saying in that scenario is, why are you thinking about that? Let's talk about what the business is going to be worth when you exit at 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. Now let's work backwards from that so we can look at the investment that goes into it. And it's probably the same for me and you. If me and you sit in a room and you're like, Nick, when do you want to sell your business? And I go, I want to sell it when I'm 50 years old. And saying, what do you want that business to be valued with? And I'm like, I want my business to be worth $10 million. You're like, great. So let's look backwards at all decisions you're going to make between now and the time you turn 50 to get to that $10 million. And that might mean you don't make as much during this portion of it, but it equals a greater return, or you reinvest faster in the business to scale it up. I mean, it's a huge mindset shift, but where's that coming from? It's coming from a founder.
Yeah, and that's the big miss for many emerging brands. It seems like the franchising process homogenizes the franchise, and they lose the founder, right?
Yeah, but I think it's probably because, I mean, this has always been this way in franchising. Franchisors chase false numbers, and franchisors chase the wrong numbers. So the false numbers are, you look around the room and you see, take a Paris Baguette, 4,000 locations, and so you're like, oh, I want to be there. You're not going to be there. Let's get over it. Let's start talking about how we get to 25 units or 50 units. And so these false dreams probably changed some of the decisions that you make in the early stages. And then we celebrate the sale, not the exit. And so when, like, you think about, if we ask any of the franchisors that were in the room at Frank Camp what winning is, they talk about typically how many deals they want in the next year. And what you're saying here is you want to change the perspective, or put a founder's mentality towards it. Where do you want to be in 3 years?
Right, and that empowers so much. The founder is there. If they have a great business, good unit economics, if they're franchising, they should be driven. I was speaking with some franchise brokers the other day. A franchise broker does an amazing job, and she was communicating with me that there's some franchisors that are stuck, and we were discussing this exact same thing, which is, all of a sudden you get invited, you join a broker group, you come to discovery events and all this other stuff, but no one's having the hard discussion and telling that founder, hey, you need to be you, and you're probably not ready to be at this regional event or local event. Focus. It's not that the founders are getting it wrong or looking for a shortcut. They're not getting the right advice. Right. And so there's the opportunity, which I think the good news is for every founder, every franchisor. I mean, what's amazing, you saw it at Frank Camp, and I'm so proud of it. Like, our clients, who they are. They usually have a great spouse. They have a great personality. They believe in their brand. They believe in a mission, and they're leading forward through the founder who you want to follow. And that's a big commonality for so many of our clients. And I think that's where the magic is going to happen. Like, F the traditional franchise development world, in my opinion. Whole new generation of brands are going to be taking over. It's all going to be founder driven, and it should be.
I think about how we're approaching marketing. We were making some of these shifts a long time ago. I don't know that they were put together in this mentality, like on websites saying, what's the why you why now, that brands don't sell brands, people do. those two messages at the top is people explaining why you would care about this now. And so some of the progression that we've made on developing franchise websites, let's say the first thing we need to hit you over the head with is a franchise video of you telling your story and the vision. Now, to be fair, you've been saying put 75 videos on your website for now, right since we started FranX. So you're actually the thought leader on this space. Maybe it took me a while to catch up to it. I'm at one right now. But it's like all these brands, they go to the default of look at my building. And buildings can't sell the dream, you know?
No, it's the connection is the founder pain point and founder achievement, and franchisee candidates aligning with that. And what I tell our clients is, you as an emerging brand, your story is the validation for your franchisee candidates. You're the validation. And so that's the big factor.
Well, I think the next level comes, and it's a little bit different, but a franchisee is still a founder of a business. They're setting up a business entity and they're buying into your franchise. And so now at a micro level, when you empower them to be leaders and thought leaders in their communities, ultimately then they're taking the financial risk on the investment side, but they're also an extension of you in those markets to represent what your vision is. Like, I've heard big visions of we want to be the biggest X in the world. And then you say, how are you going to do that? Like, through people that believe in our mission, investing their life savings into it and making wealth for themselves. And it's like the right ones get it. I do agree with you. Like, another comment on what you said on your clients, that when you're a client of yours in a room. I think part of that is because you as a founder, you didn't lead with the widget, and most law firms lead with the widget. Most law firms come in, like, if they say, what's your why you now? They're like, I do franchise law. And for you, you're like, we consult you on how to build a great business. That's why your slogan of entrepreneurs kick ass, like, it's bigger than that. You're saying, like, yeah, we have a widget, and frankly, we'll argue why our item 19s are better than everyone else, and others are going to say theirs are better than ours. And that's a widget that, so many different people compete in, but the intangible for your company, and you start thinking about intangibles as a founder, is that Charles is saying, like, I mean, I can think through Ken, like, the amount of consulting that brand got from you in exchange for $0, like, you don't own the business. That business is going to eventually sell for millions and millions of dollars. And I would bet so much that the reason it's going to hit that mark is because the advice and advisory that you've given them over the years for $0, because you care passionately about the outcome. But that's intangible founder side of you.
But that gets to, and I appreciate that. But to this point, think about Ryan and Ken as founders. They were the driving force, right? As founders, not only leaders of their franchise team and their corporate location, the franchisees are looking at Ryan and Ken as their leaders and leadership, and they're in turn distilling culture and education and transforming lives. What I love too is I'll throw out another one of our clients, A Place at Home. What Jared and the whole team there, they have a book club with their franchisees. So they're reading. I mean, so talk about leadership, and they're not just transforming lives based on business. Their franchisees are evolving as humans, right? And they're accelerating that process. But think of a franchisor that has a book club with their franchisees. And then when I look at the team, say like A Place at Home, I'm looking at two amazing founders who are then nurturing and bringing up their leadership team, young people who I'm impressed with. And then I see these guys on calls, or I see them, hosting book clubs with their franchisees. I mean, that's leadership. That's driven by the founder and culture, and that's where the wins are.
Yeah. Well, that's that. Like, I think the bigger term ends up being intangibles. Intangibles are there are CEOs that work 9 to 5s. There are CEOs that work P&Ls, there are founders that don't work, meaning this is their life. And when it's your life and it's your life's work and your life's art, there's almost a new like a new gear that you go into
Yeah.
that is an intangible where the it's like it's a superpower passion place. I mean, like, look, I can think through brothers that just do gutters as an outsider. They came to, like, you and I did masterminds for years.
Yeah.
They were limping along. They had the juice, but they needed the broker network to get the squeeze out there so that their story could get out there and accelerate their growth at a pace that was in line with the depth of their culture. You can think of
And to build up the team to support it
oh,
and the numbers right, which people, they missed the mark also.
well, that's where, like, I mean, tactically, if I'm trying to say, here's the tactical takeaway from here, go on your website right now. If there's nothing about your vision, I don't care where it is, get
Yeah.
the vision on there. Um, if there's nothing about the founding story, get it on there. And then
Right.
just try to zoom out of where you are today and put yourself in the shoes of someone that is on this fence of debating, like, do I invest my life savings in this? Do I take another job? And what would push them over the fence? And you think about I think the ultimate thing that does push people over, it's human scaffolding and trust. And so if your website is just selling a widget and you're not building the trust component as a thought leader and as a founder, then your ride is going to be a little bit more challenging to get to the place that I think you probably want to go to as a founder.
I think that's great advice on the takeaway. It is not because, look, websites are important, but chances are the main page of your franchise sales website is what you believe to be is the best thing about your franchise system. And so if you're not making that founder connection, if you're not telling that why you, why now, it's because either you don't believe in your mission strong enough or you haven't done a deep enough dive. And if your homepage is flooded with how great the industry is, you're missing the mark and you're scared from telling your story, right? Those, if you're over indexing on how great the industry is, a $50 trillion industry, and if you're over indexing on here's the 7 steps to become a franchisee, but not talking about what it's like after you sign an agreement and what, then either you're scared or you may have gotten some bad advice or you need to do a deeper dive. If that is what your website looks like, do not go to the broker conference, spend the time with your team and going. I mean, we have the FranX Masterclass brand story. What I love, a consistent comment I get, Nick, after they go through our masterclass is, hey, this was not only good for our branding, but it really helped us strategically plan and really hone in on our mission.
And I also think what you were saying is if you're over indexing on other thing and you're disguising poor unit level economics, like, the reality is sometimes it's okay to say, let's pause a little bit or slow down our expectations on franchise sales, hyper focus in on correcting operations and marketing to jack up our sales at the local level. You over investing in franchisee success will eventually help you sell franchises. So if you have to over index on categories that aren't the profitability of the business model, and you don't have a vision to get you to a place where you're like, okay, here's what we need to do from a unit level economic standpoint to make sure the profitability is strong, then you're probably skipping a few steps ahead and therefore taking a step backwards and trying to work through some of the fundamentals could make your business opportunity stronger when you're ready to represent it. So,
yeah, look, unit economics solve many problems.
money, money, money.
Yeah,
That's all we're doing this for. That's the truth. Screw founders. It's all about money.
No, it's a good mission. Look, we were at, I'm proud, Brian Lintzer on our team, who leads, in many ways, he leads our team. I mean, we were just at a charity event. And it's a function of who he is as a leader, right? And so it's more important than anything else. So the unit economics need to be there, but founder vision, that's the big opportunity to unlock.
Larger purpose of what you want to get done in life. There you go. There you have it. Another episode of FranX. And hopefully the return of Brent happens next week. We're on pins and needles waiting for him. Eventually he'll show up.
Yeah, we're working to book Brent.
Or we'll get some other Aussie to join on here and talk about
no one
words that end in R's. Internicolar law firm. That's it. That's all we got. See you later. FranX.